A new report 2 years in the making has found the City of Montreal has turned a blind eye to racism. Mayor Valérie Plante is promising to act on what she calls systemic racism affecting racialized communities and Indigenous people. The Premier of Quebec, though, says he does not believe systemic racism exists in his province. Eric Sorensen explains.
Like any big city, Montreal has confronted racially charged shooting deaths that have sparked violence and other questionable police conduct. But the problem of racism goes beyond the police. Consultations last year found discrimination towards racialized and Indigenous people in everything from employment to housing. A new report says the city has turned a blind eye to the relationship of power between majority and minority groups.
It was said very clearly, the blind eyes. I mean, of course it hurts because that's not what I want as mayor.
In this highly diverse city, Montreal's mayor says there is systemic racism and it will be addressed, announcing the creation of a commissioner to lead the fight, new hiring targets for underrepresented groups, mandatory training to counter discrimination, and at the street level, police body cameras for more accountability.
I want you to know that Montreal is a city where every Montrealer is entitled to have their dignity respected.
Anti-racism advocates are pleased with the report, but want to see more from City Hall and the police.
We need concrete measures to ensure that the SPVM does not partake in any form of racial profiling and police brutality.
Quebec's premier has insisted there is no systemic racism in that province, but now Francois Legault is forming a new committee to address racism. He doesn't want to quarrel over the word systemic.
Why do we have to fight for months about one word instead of fighting together against racism?
Legault was backed up by cabinet ministers who've experienced racism firsthand.
I have been victim of racism during my career. Ask me which type of racism. For me, it's racism, period.
Prime Minister Trudeau is promising action at the national level right away.
Indigenous peoples, Black Canadians and racialized Canadians are far more likely to suffer violence at the hands of the authorities and police.
And so the Prime Minister suggests within days, Ottawa will share plans to address what he calls the systemic racism that has existed for too long in this country. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.